every garden needs some kind of composting system. Some people have quite labour intensive ones that involve digging out the compost every so often, turning it and putting it back. Other people might construct their compost bin in layers with different types of compostable material. I have a different system to that, simpler one. I had two large compost bins, and I fill one of them up with whatever comes from the garden. I don't produce a huge amount of compostable material in such a small garden, so it actually takes me about 2 years to fill one of these bins. In fact, this one is pretty much full now, and shortly I'll be putting a cover over it of weed suppressant fabric, putting a few rocks on it and leaving it for 2 years while I'm filling up the other one. I'm in a situation now where I have one full one and one that has been composting for 2 years, which leaves me with the question of what do I do with the compost in here, because there's far more than I can use in the greenhouse and the garden. And the solution I've come up with is to have a raised bed, and shortly I'm going to transfer the compost from this bin into the raised bed, which will probably come up to about here, and then in 2 years' time, when this one is composted, I'll raise the bed slightly. I've calculated that I can probably carry on like that for about 10 years and still have a useful raised bed. After 10 years I'll have to see what happens. The amount of compost in here, of course, is a lot less than the volume of the bin. It's compacted down to probably just over half of its original volume, as obviously composted material compacts more than the material that it originally was made from. Now, this raised bed isn't just a place for the compost to be stored. One end of it I will use for taking compost for the garden and for the greenhouse, but the other end will be a very good home for a courgette plant next year. Anyway, I'd better make a start. See you when I've finished. As you can see, I've now transferred all the compost from the bin here into the raised bed and covered the raised bed with weed suppressant fabric. As you'll see in future videos, I make extensive use of weed suppressant fabric, but it certainly isn't single-use plastic. This stuff lasts year after year after year. I can't remember when I bought the roll that this came off of. What it does mean is that this bed won't be full of weeds when I want to use it next year. I'll just be able to cut a hole in this end to plant a courgette and peel back the fabric at this end when I need some compost. And I put the bin there for a few potatoes right next to the compost, which reminds me there probably are a few potatoes left in here that we could use for dinner this evening. It's quite late in the year, but yes. That should do us for this evening.